It was years before the Has-Been Hotel was even built. The Alastor was still new in hell. Well, somewhat. He's been out here for a while, but he was still a new player, since Overlords were quite rare and powerful. He found other Overlords and destroyed them, and radioed it all. Vox recently came in and joined the V's. Vox wanted to become famous and popular. Vox wanted to control technology, and TV was quite new at the time, and it was just Valentino and him. Velvet didn't really arrive in hell yet, so he decided it was time to get a new member. As Alastor was torturing a poor soul and broadcasting it to everyone, Vox would walk up behind him and say, "Hello, Alastor. I think it's time you and I create something new." Vox looked at him and said, "How about we create the AVV? Me and Valentino already have the double V's. With an A in it, we'll be pretty strong. What do you think? You'll have the old radio and all of the old timers, and I'll have the new generation. And Valentino, he'll have all the perverts, and together we'll rule all of hell." Alastor did not want to work with Valentino, much less Vox. Valentino was just a pervert, and Vox, he just was something new. All he cared about was new and improved. He didn't care about the old style or the old ways or old chivalry. This pissed Alastor off. However, before he was going to tell him no, suddenly he would have a vision. A hotel being destroyed. Angels fighting with him against Adam himself. And eventually, he would see that his soul would be owned by someone else. He was using his magic to see into the future when this happened. In this timeline, Alastor decides to join the V's to stop this from happening. He would look at Vox and said, "All right, I'll help you, but I want this alliance to be a secret, and I don't want to see Valentino." Vox would be shocked and said, "Why not? You love shouting your name out there." "Because, my dear fellow, I hate that man. He's just a pervert with no class. However, you, I see potential in. Got it?" Vox would nod and say, "All right, let's make a deal. No souls, of course. The deal is, if I need your help, you'll help me, and vice versa. And we'll stick together." Vox and Alastor would then shake hands. Alastor hated doing this, but he didn't know who owned this soul. He didn't know how powerful they were, and he needed as much help as he could get. So as much as he hated it, he joined Vox. Alastor then had an idea. If someone owned his soul, they must be an Overlord, or maybe Hell's royalty themselves. Well, if he wiped out all the other Overlords, no one could own his soul. There would be no threat. Then he could fake his death and wait for the time to strike. Alastor hated doing this, but he was going to have to take down all the other Overlords. He was going to save the V's, his allies, for last, however. So he got an idea, as he convinced Vox to take over Cannibal Town. After all, he is a classic old fellow like the people in Cannibal Town, and they really like the cut of his jib. So if he could overthrow Rosie, he can get a cannibal army to follow him, and that could help the V's, not to mention also Alastor. So Vox would smirk as he shook Alastor's hand, and Alastor said, "I don't want to fight Rosie directly, though. I need to give her a painless death. It's ungentlemanly to attack a woman, so I'm already breaking my code. So I have to make sure that it's..." Vox would say, "Oh, so noble for a serial killer." He would laugh, as then Alastor would look at him with an angered look, and Vox would say, I'm just kidding. Anyway, we can make a pill that will poison her and kill her, made from angelic material. Don't worry about it. All you have to do is put it in her drink, and she'll die painlessly." Alastor would nod, as the next day he would visit Rosie. They would drink tea and talk, and even eat flesh, as Rosie would say, "How have you been, Alastor?" Alastor looked at her and said, "Not good, honestly." Rosie said, "Aw, what's got you all riled up, old chap? It couldn't be troubles with the ladies, could it?" Alastor would laugh and say, No, it's nothing like that. It's just, well, I've had a vision in the future. Someone takes over my soul. To stop that, I have to do drastic measures." Rosie never saw Alastor this serious before. She would look at him and say, "What kind of drastic measures?" Alastor would get up and say, "Sorry, you were a good friend, but I don't need friends when I'm pulling the strings." As suddenly, Rosie would fall to the floor, dead. Alastor would cover up her body and make sure anyone who saw her die was dead. With no one around, Cannibal Town was up for the takings. Many people fought for it, but Alastor would easily take control of it, as the V's ruled Cannibal Town. As we cut to Vox, suddenly, Vox would be kissing Valentino, having fun, enjoying his little time with him. They weren't dated, but they did enjoy each other quite a bit. Vox knew a lot about Valentino, and even though he was quite annoying sometimes, he was still fun to play with, and he loved his sexy, explosive personality. But suddenly, one of the windows would break as a tentacle came in. Vox would look and say, "It's my partner, now go." Valentino would say, "But I want to see him, go." "But he doesn't like you. I said this, for this partnership to work." Fine. Valentino was pissed. He felt that Vox liked Alastor more than him. You don't even fuck him, yet you like him more. As Vox rolled his eyes, as he saw Valentino as being such a big baby. Even though he liked him, he can throw little temper tantrums. They can be cute, but annoying. Valentino simply left, pissed off. He swore he would kill Alastor. As Valentino left, Alastor would walk through the window and say, "I'm glad he's gone. Now listen, I have a plan to get rid of every other Overlord, so we can control everything." Vox would be ecstatic. He couldn't believe this. Get rid of all the other Overlords? Control all of hell? He looked at him and said, "What's the plan?" "I will give them fake plans that you're plotting to kill them all. Then we'll have a surprise attack. It'll be a trap." However, Camilla Carmine has the best angelic weapons, so we need to steal them and replace them with fake ones. Vox looked at Alastor and said, "How would we do that?" "Simple. I have a friend who could help me quite a bit." Alastor would laugh as he faded away. As then the next day came, Alastor would go to Veesal. Alastor would look at Veesal and say, "Remember that deal we made? The one where you owe me quite a big favor, my old pal?" Veesal would say, "Yes, and you can do it no matter what." Veesal would say, "That is in the deal, but what are you implying, old friend?" "I need you to do something for me. I need you to steal all of Carmine's angelic weapons and replace it with something else. I've been studying her, and I know it's the only way to kill angels." Veesal would look at him and say, But then Alastor would look at him and say, "The deal was any favor." Veesal would shy and say, "Fine, but we're no longer friends, Alastor. After this, our friendship is over." Alastor would laugh and say, "So be it. That old gentleman behavior, it was a little too much anyway." Alastor would slowly giving up his chivalry. He killed a woman. He was changing who he was. He was never a good guy. He was a cannibal, a serial killer, but he had morals, never hurt a child or a woman. But now, Alastor gave it all up. He was becoming pure evil. Veesal would steal all the angelic weapons and replace it with fake ones. As Alastor had to strike now before she realized. So, Alastor called a meeting with them and brought them plans that Vox had to exterminate them all. They couldn't let this stand, so they devised a plan, a surprise attack, to attack their perimeter. You see, Vox Tower had an underground basement. They would all teleport and attack there. But this is what Alastor planned. As this was going on, we cut to Vox. Vox was talking to Valentino. Soon they'll slip into our trap, and the V's will control everything. Valentino didn't really trust Alastor. He thought he was messing up things. He said, "Alastor's gonna..." "Shut up, Val. Alastor's made us more powerful than ever, and if you don't think that, then you're a blind fool." Vox would get out of the way, as Valentino would try to punch him. Pitiful. You're so predictable. Valentino wanted to fight, but he couldn't do that, because they had to keep their guard up. As suddenly, all the Overlords would teleport in the basement, as all the angelic weapons Camilla Carmine had were there, as Vox and Alastor made sure to make booby traps and weapons out of their weapons, as they melted it down to a hot liquid. As they all went down to the back rooms of the V's towers, suddenly the liquid would fall from the ceiling, burning them all alive. Camilla Carmine fell to the floor. As she realized she was betrayed, it was too late. They were all melted up and killed. Valentino, Alastor, and Vox would all start to laugh. As they did it, they killed all the other Overlords. Hell belongs to them. But then, Valentino felt a sharp pain go through his back. As Valentino fell to the floor, he would see a weapon stab through it. as he looked up at Vox and said, "Why? Why?" As he started to cough up blood, Vox would simply say this: "Oh, you old fool. Can't you see, you horny bastard? You were nothing but a worthless piece of meat. Anyone can run a porn industry. Besides, Alastor is far more important than you, and he doesn't like you, so I think it's time I get rid of you." As then he would cut off Valentino's head. Alastor would laugh and say, "Excellent, now I have a grand plan. With all the Overlords dead, the V's would take over all of hell. Not directly, because I would get too suspicious. They had other minor Overlords take all their positions and secretly work with the V's. As they controlled all of hell, Alastor was becoming more and more paranoid. As the years went by, he began to grow more and more malicious towards everyone. Alastor didn't know who was going to take his soul, but he decided to wipe out all of the Pride Ring. If all of Pride was gone, no one could take it, and he'll be free forever. He was obsessed with trying to find freedom. Alastor then went over and began to work years and years on a project. This project would be a bomb made with angelic power. This bomb would blow up angelic liquid everywhere, melted down from all the angelic weapons. Every extermination, he would collect weapons. Every extermination, he would collect items and try to fuel this bomb. As Alastor worked tirelessly again and again, Alastor wasn't himself. He was barely on the radio. He barely talked to anyone. He began to get more and more paranoid. He barely even talked to Vox. Eventually, Alastor would join the hotel, and everything would continue like a cannon. But Alastor's eye would twitch. Alastor would be insane sometimes. As the final battle came, Alastor commanded the cannibal army to help Charlie, as Alastor went to a bunker, as he knew the bomb was about to go off. This bomb would wipe out all the angels, wipe out everyone in Pride, and finally he could be free. As he was in a bunker, the bomb went off and destroyed the entire Pride Ring. Only Lucifer and Charlie and Adam were able to survive. As all of Pride was destroyed, all of the sinners were wiped out, and Alastor felt free, but he would be stuck in that bunker for years, as the liquid from the bomb was full of liquid of pure angelic power. If anyone touched it, they would die. Alastor was stuck in that bunker. Ironically, trying to be free for so long made him trapped there for years, as he would take his own soul in a way. And that is going to leave things off. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is definitely different than I thought it would play out, but I wanted to do this in a more interesting way to fit his character. And I think the only way for him to work with the V's is if he gave up who he was. So I had to do that. And after that, I just kind of had a field day. I had fun with it. I hope you had fun watching it.